Okay, so this time around I thought I'd put together just a quick video on replacing the top dash panel here in the 67 Chevelle. I've got the original all cut out. I've done a lot of epoxy work here inside of the car after sandblasting and metal treatment, epoxied everything. So yeah, the original dash panel, that top piece, was pretty much rotted out all up in the window channel area here, and then down where it attached to the braces and the kick panel cowl sides here, pretty rotted out. So when I gutted this car and stripped it down, I decided that I would replace that top panel. So I've got it just sitting here kind of staged and in place. It's a panel from AMD, pretty good quality. The one thing that I did notice about this, as well as other manufacturers, of course we all know it's coming from the same place, it's cut or stamped just a little bit differently than the factory. So there's, it's got the appropriate holes for the dash pad and attachment, but if you look at your factory dash, there's a lot of slots cut out along this front edge of the dash panel. So I don't think that that's going to cause any problems. And then of course I saved the brackets or the braces here. To be honest, I probably should have replaced mine, but I'm going to go ahead and salvage them. Mine were in pretty bad shape. I did sandblast them and treated them with some rust preventative paint. If you've seen some of my other videos, you know that I like to use Zero Rust. So I think they'll be fine. There's really nothing structural about those braces, but if I had another set laying around or on a donor car, I definitely would replace them. So anyway, just going to start getting things fit together here. I'm going to start off by clamping and positioning the braces themselves in the right spot, and then I'm going to just set the dash panel up in to the area here, and then from there we'll do some final tweaks. I will eventually take it out, and then I'll actually use some weld through primer up along the edges here where the cowl channel is going to go, and it's actually sitting out here. I've got it primed already, but we'll have to do just a little bit of prep work before we get around to that final welding. So anyway, stay tuned. We're going to get this put in here and hopefully get one step closer to getting this project car done. I've got the dash housing here up on the workbench, and I've got the upper dash panel clamped in place. I just wanted to check the fitment, see how it fit before I get it welded into the car. I can probably make some adjustments once it's in there, but it'll be a lot easier to do it while it's out. I can flip it upside down, get to certain areas. So what you can see here is I don't have the greatest fitment in this radius here with the reproduction upper panel. So I think what's happening is you can see right here where the lower section here is welded to the top section. There's basically just a flange there and a joint. So I'm just going to get in there and dolly that and work that a little bit. And I think I'll be able to get this gap here around this corner a little bit better. It may not be perfect, but I think I can get it better. And then over here on the other side, this would be the driver's side, having some problems with getting that side piece to actually butt up against the dash itself. So I think what's happening here is that this just isn't stamped. This aftermarket piece just isn't stamped as precisely as it should be. So luckily I kept my old pieces here, and so I'm going to be able to use those as a point of reference. And I can already tell just looking at it that the angle of the stamping on this inside flange is a little bit different. So I'll get in there and dolly that, and I think we'll be able to get this to pull down pretty good. I mean, I may not be able to get it perfect, but I'm sure that it wasn't perfect from the factory. So so I'll work on that a little bit. We'll come back and show you what it looks like, and hopefully we'll get this dash, the upper dash panel put into this car sometime today. Okay, so I just finished doing a little bit of dolly work here on the upper dash. It wasn't a lot of work, just a little bit of tweaking just to get some of these radiuses fitting a little bit better. So I put it all back together here. Got all of the holes lined up. I obviously didn't put any screws in. I just have it clamped in place, but I did make sure that each of those screw holes lined up with the upper dash itself. So again, luckily didn't have to do any cutting, any welding to get everything back into shape. It's out just a little bit down here, but I'm pretty happy with the way it fits. It looks like I've got to come in here and maybe tweak that. Looks like it might have got just a little dinked out a little bit when it got removed or during storage. So that's kind of keeping this bottom part here from squeezing up against the dash housing itself. But the radiuses look good. I wasn't so much concerned about the gaps as I was just the radius. I didn't want it to look a little cattywampus once I get it all installed. So this side over here was the side that was off a little bit more, a little bit bigger gap, a little bit uneven spacing in this radius. One thing that I should point out here is you've probably noticed I don't have the little grommets, the little spacers for the screws in the dash housing. Then they basically look like this, these little grommets here. So you know, those are going to definitely cause the dash panel, the upper dash panel here, to stand up a little bit from the dash housing. So even though I've got a tight fit here, it's not going to be that tight once this is all installed. There may be just a little bit of a gap in there. So that's really what I'm looking for here. Again, a really good fitment, and I think there's still going to be there's going to be just a little bit of a gap once I get the screw grommets in place. They're going to cause it to stand up just a hair, not much, but just a little bit. So really happy with this. Again, I'm glad I didn't have to do any welding or cutting on this aftermarket piece. And next thing to do here will be just to flip it over, clean it up, get it scuffed, and then spray some epoxy on the back side of the dash here, and then we'll start getting it welded in. So stay tuned for hopefully some more progress.